He's one of the most dedicated individuals I know. We get under our schedule time, and he's in his truck taking an hour-long call on the side of the freeway heading to Grand Rapids. I'm like, do you want to reschedule? He's like, no, we're good.
No, I was stopped then, right? Yeah, no, let's do it.
Let's get those mics green, and when Katie gives us the green light, audio and visual is good, we can kick off.
We're good.
All right, I would like to have us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council study session as publicly noticed. At this time, Clerk Tomasic, please call roll.
Schumate,
Here.
Rosner, Cox,
Here.
Dill,
Here.
Lapointe, McNabb,
Here.
Molnar.
We do have two absent members, but with a study session, there is no action or motions taken, so we will let the record reflect two absent members at this point in time. We would now like to open up to public comment. And we do not have any members of public here to address our administration. So with that, I would like to turn over to City Administrator, who can kick us off with the topic at hand.
Thank you. Thank you. So today we have Kyle Bond from Michigan Rural Water, who has been working on a water rate study for us. As you know, you are a very data-driven council, which I love and appreciate. And Michigan Rural Water, as part of our membership, will do a water rate study for us for free. So many of you have had an opportunity to walk through this in fine detail with Kyle, and today's your opportunity to have him walk through it and to discuss it as a group together. Now I'll turn it over to you, Kyle.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again and working with Michigan Rural Water. We appreciate your support as members, and glad I could be down here to help. And just to clarify thing, I have worked on both water and sewer for you, not just the drinking water side, but looked at the wastewater side of things too, because we know if we've got good, clean drinking water, we've got to have good, clean wastewater too, to take care of that. So a little bit about myself, just so you know where I come from, where I started. As I was DPW director for Public Works, City of Grayling. So I did the day-to-day field work, before I came here. Now I've just gotten training and have the experience to do these rate studies for communities. And with a rate study, and I think maybe I might have talked to some of you. Really, it's a very basic math problem, right? We take our expenses, what it costs you to run your water or your wastewater system, and then we divide it out by our customers. Pretty simple, right? There's a few extra things in there that we go through, like equipment replacement and capital improvement funds and stuff like that. But this first page, I was going to go through the water side of things, the clean water, drinking water first. This is just a real basic, just about background information. And two, I'm going to go through on my Excel today with you, kind of like how I did with some of the people over Zoom. That way I can actually kind of move some numbers around too if you have any questions on that. It's a living document. Any of this stuff can be changed, can be, if there's something you see that you don't like, I can change it here. And with working with the administration and also your DPW crew, John, is everything that, how I came up with all these numbers here. Good to go? Yeah.
If you don't mind, it's pretty thin.
Are you able to see
I can't
it? You're
see it for you.
okay? Okay. And if I stand in the way too, let me know and I'll make sure I back up out of your way here. So this should look familiar here to you. This is your current rates, right now you're charging $8.68 per thousand. So per 1,000 gallons, every time 1,000 gallons runs through your customer's meter, they get charged that $8.68. Then if they have a 3/4 or a 1-inch meter, they're either that 3/4, there's a $6 ready to serve or base fee that comes along with that or $7.25.
Hey, Kyle, can
Yeah.
you explain what the ready-to-serve fee is for?
Well, a lot of it, it's just basically exactly what it sounds like, ready to serve. You're ready to serve that customer, whether that line breaks or they need any sort of maintenance. It's kind of a base fee to make sure that you're collecting money maybe to either, it could be used for lots of things. Could be to pay off debt, could be to fund a project, could just be for your everyday expenses. And that's that fee that it's gonna come either monthly or quarterly, depending on how you bill. Now, I set this study up because my program doesn't allow me to have some customers billed quarterly and some customers billed monthly. I set everything up here like it was a quarterly bill. So when we get to some pages, you're gonna see some real high, higher ready to serve fee. In some cases, those customers are actually billed monthly because they're that larger account, they're a commercial account, and that's how you guys choose to bill. Your residents are billed quarterly. I think a lot of the commercial accounts are billed at a monthly basis. And that's, I think, probably to keep the bill more manageable for them.
Thank
But
you.
right now, that 3/4, they get a $6 ready to serve. The 1-inch is $7.25. And then all the way from 1.5 to 8-inch, you're charging them $10. Typically, this was strange to me. When I came, this was in every rate's different. Every place is a little bit different. I've never gone to a community, two communities and had the exact same structure. It's just, every place is a little bit different. You got a unique fingerprint, right? But from 1.5 all the way up to that 8-inch, it's just a $10 ready to serve fee. Now, just a little bit of background, that ready to serve fee would hopefully be money that you could use, let's say if that line broke. If the line, this 8-inch line breaks, it is gonna cost a whole lot more money to repair than this 1.5 line. And that's typically the reason why usually as that meter size or your line gets bigger, so does your ready to serve fee, typically, in a lot of communities. That's okay, that's how you're set up right now. We're gonna keep moving here. Now, this is, you've got the majority of your customers are right here in this 3/4 to 1-inch bracket here. That's all your residents. And if we look over here, I set this up because the way Rachel and I talked about this 3/4 and 1-inch, they're all residents. They're all residential. There's no businesses there. We wanted to basically put these guys on a level playing field, so their selected meter equivalent is 1. And then as the size of the meter goes up, and this is gonna make more sense here in a few slides, the meter equivalent goes up. In the 1.5 can produce that customer 4 times the amount of water that 3/4 inch line could run. The 3-inch could run 16 times the amount of water that 3/4 inch could. And it'll make more sense here shortly, but I just wanted to point that out there. We've got our water sold, what you've sold over to your customers over the years, and it's pretty steady, between 97 and 99 million gallons. For this study, what I did was I took the average, because the best way to try to predict the future is to look at the past as far as water sales goes. So I took this average, and then just to be on the safe side, I went down 2%. So expecting to at least sell 95 million gallons in this next year for the purpose of this rate study. We look at our expenses here. You've got, and you'll notice some stuff in red, big ticket ones I put in red just so I remind myself to ask questions. Hey, what is this one for? What's this one for? And everything made sense after I talked to Chelsea and Rachel there. But $411,000 that you spend to keep the wheels running here for your operation, whether it be electricity, wages, any other expense that's out there. We've got our purchased water here. You're purchasing. This number looks a little bit skewed. This is because that Brownstown meter didn't have that subtraction on there, so water loss kind of looks a little with these numbers. This was, I think, I was doing this rate study right in the process as that was getting fixed. So next year when I do this for you, these numbers will look better, but just show you how much water you purchased. Here, this is just a short list of some assets that John, your DPW supervisor, asked to track. And I think it was Kathy, we needed a good way to keep track of assets and see. So this page, you'll be able to use this page. Rachel will have access to it. I can help out there. And again, it's a living document. If you buy a new piece of equipment and you want to add it onto the list, we can do that. If we split these costs up over time, because we know we don't want to have to pay for that big list all at once. So the best way to do that is to create an equipment fund to save a little bit of money. Get prepared for a breakdown or maintenancing. Right now, to keep you in the black out until 31, putting $14,000 away a year is what made that happen, just to put in a savings account for that equipment there. Now, all these pages, plus we'll go right up here to the top. So we've got your operating expenses at 411. We've got $390,000 budgeted for purchased water, for purchasing water. And with those added up, it's just over $800,000 in expenditures that you're putting out there a year. Plus, we put in the $14,000, some capital improvement funds, and then also there's $1 on the bill, and I actually haven't seen the bill, what it states, but there's $1 that goes towards capital, I believe, correct? And that's what this 50 cents represents here, is that, because 50 cents of it will go to your drinking water, out of that $1, 50 cents goes to the wastewater side. That's just how I keep track of that. And then after we take all this and divide, and that, as we go down the line here, this top line item, it costs $10.66, $7.10 here. As we keep going, we divide out these expenses between the ready to serve and the commodity rate. And when we get down here for a 3/4 to a 1-inch customer, it would be $11.26 a quarter and $8 per thousand. And if you remember here what your current rate, here's your current rates. It was $8.68 with this study. Rachel, and when we were playing with the numbers, we thought let's try to lower that commodity rate a little bit, because you're going to notice a big change here. Remember when we talked about the meter equivalents and that 1126, these two meters are all your residents, so we want to charge them the same. Those folks, it's their house, it's not a business. Why those 1-inch meters were installed there for a short period of time, no one's really got a good answer for me. You know why they got the 1-inch. Now they're back to 3/4 inch. So we wanted to make it a fair, even playing field for the majority of your customers. They would all be charged that 1126. And then as we get larger meter size, so would your ready to serve fee, because that 1.5 inch, it will flow 4 times the amount of that 3/4 inch. So if we take that 3/4 inch ready to serve, multiply it by 4, you come up with 4503, and so on and so forth. And now down at this 8 inch, this would be divided by 3, so they would get that bill monthly. It'd be 1,280 quarterly, but since they're billed monthly, you'd want to divide it and send it out that way. Now, these numbers, this meter equivalency factor here, these aren't just numbers that Kyle just decided to pull out of a hat or took a dart and threw it against a wall. These are AWWA standards, American Water Works Association. They're a standard. It's something that has been used now for many, many years. It's a very common practice in water, wastewater industry to charge this way. And that's why I try to suggest that first, to go to something, if it were to be challenged, because it's happened. We've seen some larger businesses challenge rates. When we're using this format, it's gone all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court, and we've won every time. Because this is it's mathematics, it's hydraulics. That it's not just a number we think it would flow 4 times the amount. It's hydraulics, it's mathematics. We know it will flow 4 times the amount. So that's why we can do that. That, and also the cost of maintaining these lines are so much more than that smaller stuff. Or repurchasing that meter, when it comes time to replace that meter and things. You have to look at that also. So, and then let's take a look at a typical customer bill here. I think this is pretty important, and this is where Rachel and I really kind of put our heads together. We put our thinking caps on here and played with that $8 commodity rate. In the majority of your residents are right here in this 8,000 plus what they're using in a quarter. So if they use 8,000 gallons, they begin to break that, and their bill would actually go down a touch from what their previous bill was. So I think that was our big goal there, was to try to the majority of your customers would actually see a decrease when they use the amount of water that they're already using. So that's all on the water. Any questions? I'm sure there's some
Yeah.
questions there. Garrett?
I do. And I know we talked about this in our meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But perhaps directed more to Rachel or Amy. On the 3/4 meter inch breakdown that he has shown here, that previous table he said had 1,453 or 1,458 households captured in that 3/4 inch bucket, and then 251 in the inch bucket. So if you go back to the table you were just on,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's it. Yeah. So
Okay.
take those numbers there. Now go back to the table you're on, the blue one. So then, but the 3/4 is broken out into 5 rows here. You're saying the majority is on that 8.
Between, I think it was
1,000.
8 and 9, between that 8 and 10,000 a quarter is what the majority of your customers are using.
Do we know how many, or at least approximately, would fall into the first 2 rows?
I don't have that specific number.
Thanks. Cool, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure it might be something though, I bet they could probably get for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the people with the 1 inch meter are averaging 14,000 gallons? Is that what you got?
No, that's just,
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to kind of show you where,
Okay,
yeah, and really that was just me playing around.
okay. So we don't know if their meters are different than
That 1 3/4 is actually gonna be billed the same.
Yeah, no, I understand. I was just wondering on the water usage.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You know what? And I probably should have, made sure that reflected that there.
I didn't know if the 1-inch meters are actually using more water or not. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, good question. They would actually be a bigger savings because the 3/4 is being charged currently less than that 1-inch. And what we're looking at is, charging them the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that when we first started with this water rate study, I was very intentional with Kyle, as he said, about let's figure out how to lower this. And that's why we are recommending the structure of putting more emphasis on the ready-to-serve charge, which is fair because that's where the bulk of our cost is, and less emphasis on the per unit cost.
The way I look at it, I think you've got 2 of these 8-inch meters out there, and I think they're both for the trailer park. If I remember, that's fed, from 2 different ways, and that's for redundancy. That's a good thing. But those 2 8-inch meters are serving hundreds of homes. They're serving hundreds of homes. So they're taxing your system so much more than that 1.5-inch meter. That's probably, 1.5 is pretty typical maybe for like a car wash or a small laundromat or something. But they're taxing that system way more. But currently, right now, the way they're being charged doesn't reflect that. So and again, it's up to you guys. These are just suggestions from me. I don't get any sort of commission or, anything like that. If, you folks give me the data, I take the data, I plug it in and give you numbers. And then we can kind of go back and forth and, see where we can go with it from there.
And then just going back to your revenue versus expenditure kind of breakdown at a high level, you mentioned 863,000 and change on revenue, and then little over 800,000 on expenditure. Is that a fair assessment? So we're slightly in the green on an overall basis, not considering all the other variables.
Let's see here. 800, and then,
You had 411 in operating expenses plus purchase
the-
costs for water brought you to, I think, a little over 800,
yes.
810,
Yep,
and then 863 in revenue, correct?
yes,
Cool,
yep.
thanks.
Any other questions? I know I got to go through this with a few of you, so I hope maybe this is just kind of a refresher, I guess, for you. Well, if nothing else on that, we can go, kind of take a look at the water, or I mean, the wastewater side. Same thing here, just a kind of a basic page. Now, this looks a little bit different to you because we just see a number up here. With Gibraltar wastewater, the only way that we gain revenue there, we bring revenue, is by that commodity, is the per thousand charge. We've got nothing here in the ready to serve. We played around with that, and it really got out of control. Rachel and I really didn't like the way things were coming out. So, and again, we're just a couple people trying to get you a good starting spot. We thought this was the best starting spot. If it's something that you don't like, you're not liking, it's a living document. I can go back to the drawing board and I can try to come up with something a little bit different. But right now, you're just charging $14.16 per thousand of the wastewater.
And just to reiterate again, when we first started this, The intention, again, was to lower rates. That's what we set out to do, and that's why we played with it so much. So keep that in your mind as we go through this, that the intention truly was to lower rates and figure out how to do that. One of the things, the reason why we're showing water and sewer separately is previously they were combined, they were in the same account. Council knows that in the last budget, we made sure to separate those. And that's really important, one, to track our costs because they are two different systems, but two, we're paying two different entities. We're paying Shuva for sewer and Gliwa for water. So separating that out is going to help us exponentially with future planning and all of that. So, sorry, just wanted to
And I
make sure I
always do
said
these
that.
separate, because they're enterprise funds. They should be ran separate. And that was, I think that was probably the very first thing I said, whoa, time out. You guys got everything in one basket? No, we've got to separate this out. Should anyways. And again, I'm not a CPA or anything there, but I've been doing this long enough that I know properly, we should have these things separated. So this looks the same, but a little bit different because that ready to serve is all zeroed out. The number of your customers are the same and everything there. This meter equivalent page, I hide out that residential equivalency unit because that doesn't mean anything for this study because we're not basing it on meter size or connection size. We're just basing it on units of water. And here, the way that you bill your wastewater is it's the same reading that you build your sewer. So if I estimate that we're gonna sell 95 million gallons of water, I need to estimate that we're gonna sell 95 million, or, take on 95 million gallons of sewer. The same way as the water side. And I just take those exact numbers, the average, subtract it by 2%, and maybe some are at, well, why do you say subtract 2%, Kyle? That's weird. Why aren't we trying to say we're gonna sell 2% more? We always wanna, if we sell more, it's more revenue. The reason why there is historically doing this now for a number of years, every year I see really usually a lowering because people are putting in high efficiency appliances, their low flow shower heads, everything's going to conserve water. As that happens, you do go down a little bit in water sales. That, and if you do decide to make a change, people see that and they go, ooh, I can conserve. I can conserve my water, and that's what they're gonna do. They typically customers will conserve for a year, and then they look back and go, well, my bill only went down $5, for the year. My grass isn't as green, my flowers aren't as pretty. I'm gonna go right back to where I was before, So then we see that next year, the uptick. So it gets right back up to where we normally are. And again, I hope I'll be working with Rachel for years to come on this, and we'll just see what happens next year. We'll get the numbers from Chelsea and we'll see what happens. The expenses, your expenses are a little bit higher than the water side than they are, or on the sewer side than they are the water side, and that's normal because it costs more money to run a wastewater system. It plain and simple does. Pumps cost more money. There's just you've got more specialized equipment and things that you have to have. That's where your call outs a lot of times because of a sewer backup or something. So it costs more money there to run. We've got one page that we call a non-sales page, and this is the Shuva, Shuva refund or Shuva look back, maybe is what it's been called. Worked with Amy on coming up with a number that made sense. We don't want to overshoot it and say, yep, we can guarantee that we're gonna have $200,000 come back from Shuva this year, whatever the case may be. And then when it all comes down to it, we only get half of that. Now we've accounted for revenue that's not coming. Now we're gonna be short again. So a conservative number Amy came up with for me, I think it was a team effort in the office, was $120,000 that we can count on coming back to us in a check. Is it at the end of the year? Do they do that like a quarterly for you? Or
It's like April.
April?
It's
Okay.
random.
You know, so you get that one lump sum to come back, and we're gonna use that $120,000.
Just real quick, for those of you who don't know how Shuva calculates it, they do it based on a 5-year average. So our largest amounts of infiltration are approximately 5 years ago. So as they keep redoing the 5-year average and dropping off a year, we're anticipating getting less and less, and we've seen that over the last few years as well. So I know we just talked about 157,000 coming back to us. We feel pretty confident that 120 is a safe bet right now.
We've also seen years that we had to pay more. We had high infiltration.
And it's gone the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the other way, yeah.
Yeah, and
More cable comes up.
In that infiltration, if you've tightened that system up and you're not getting that infiltration, you're doing a great thing for yourself, because you were paying for that water to get treated that you weren't selling to anybody. It was water that was coming in, groundwater, different way, however it was getting in. So you've done great things there. Thank you for clarifying that.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I know we had two problems. So we had the infiltration problem, but we also had the Brownstown meter reads, was reading run, right? Have we sorted or split those?
That was on the water
Yeah.
side, though.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Can we get a look at how much was attributed to Brownstown versus?
so at the moment, we're still talking with GLEWA. We're disputing the amount that they're saying. So those numbers are not exactly final yet.
Okay, but we will have it, maybe?
Eventually, hopefully. I'm not sure if before we have to make this decision, again, it's been an ongoing dispute for years now, and we're still in the phase, we were just on a meeting last month, I believe, where we do not believe their data is accurate. So we asked them to give us more data and more context. So the timeline on that is unclear at the moment.
And if there's anything I can ever help you there with, Rachel, you know, I'm always willing to lend a hand there. Even if you need to bounce something off of, let me know when it comes, absolutely.
Are you on Shuba, Rodney? Who represents us at Shuba? Okay, thanks.
And Councilman Cox and I have also spoken together and with Shuva about why are we paying over what we need to pay and then getting money back. That's a conversation we've been opening at the moment.
That's correct.
So again, I don't have a timeline on that, and unfortunately, we're only one of many partners in that system. But I do feel like if we continue these conversations, one day it may bear fruit, I hope.
I as well.
Yeah. So the next page here that we'll look at is your debt. You do have some debt on the sewer side. You've got three separate loans out there currently. You've got one, the 2010 sewer improvements, that's gonna mature here in 30. And also 2011, that'll mature in 31. Those are your smaller loans. And you've got a 2020 sewer improvement. That's gonna be around for a while. You've got that one until 41. Average a year over the next until 41, you're averaging just under $240,000 a year in debt payments. And that's just on the sewer side of things. That has nothing to do with the drinking water side. Equipment replacement, again, just some assets that John wanted me to track, try to keep things consistent to keep you in the black out until 31, putting $21,000 aside for that, just as a little piggy bank there for equipment funds. Now, again, on the water side, we split it up in this ready-to-serve area here, but instead, we've got nothing, no ready-to-serve fee here, so everything gets kicked over to the volume charge or that commodity charge, and as we go down, it adds up. And currently, right now, you're 1416, with my suggestion with the calculations, getting up to 1924 is where it would be a break even, plus putting a little bit of money away for that equipment replacement and things. Again, both of these are are no frills studies. There's not a whole lot of niceties in there. I think as Garrett was one way that he said, Kyle, where's the nicety? It goes, yeah, Gabe, there's really not a whole lot in there. You know, it's all pretty, it's all needed stuff. It's already what you're having to cover. And it winds up being just under 36% increase. I know that sounds like a big increase. It does. It sounds like a big increase.
Kyle,
The-
while you're on that page,
Yeah.
can you show them what we experienced when we tried to do a ready-to-serve charge to get that per 1,000 gallon lower?
See
Can you
here.
demonstrate that for us, please?
If we
Sorry.
can-
So we, again, went into this with the mindset of let's lower these rates for everyone. And every time we tried to do something like that, that happened.
This is, if we went back to, let's say, meter equivalents. Let's see here, I thought there was one more I could hide here, no. It's not the one. Oh, I'm trying to see here. There we go. Okay, yeah, actually, this was, I didn't think I had those plugged in there. Let's see here. Yeah, that's what it would look like. You know, now if we went, let's say, we did data, we can do a what if, and that's, shoot, cancel. I don't want to do that on that page, I'm sorry. Right here. The goal seeker. Let's just say if we wanted to do 1416, get us back to that. Bring you to that. To use basically the same meter equivalents that we do there. It just didn't make any sense to do this. It did not make any sense at all.
Yeah, when you think about your customers that have only 8,000 gallons, so an extra $5 would be an extra $40 on their bill as opposed to an extra $98 on their bill.
Yeah,
So
and
we tried.
and you would still have, it'd be $98 plus, plus the
Yeah.
1416.
Exactly.
So it just doesn't, the math wasn't,
No.
did not work out for us there
Yes. Well, it benefited us on the water side. It did not on the
on the
sewer.
sewer side, no. No.
I just wanted everyone to have the benefit of that demonstration.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely, yeah. Any questions on that, Garrett?
Just because I'm having a hard time reading the screen on some of those amounts, can you give me the top line revenue and top line expenditures?
Let me see here. Expenditures 1.847,
Including debt?
yes.
Okay. And how much revenue?
I'm gonna have to do revenue collected, would be revenue collected, calculated rates. Why
I remember
is
it being like 1.777.
that- Yeah, it was 1 point in my, my page is acting up on me here, why that isn't, I'd have to go through and add everything up. for you.
Wasn't it on there? I thought I saw a line in there. What was
It
that?
has an error code right now.
It's got an error code on it for some,
Probably because I made you mess with it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah,
I
no,
think you
that's
sent me
fine.
the file. Let me see if I can get it.
Let me see here.
Where would it be at on your table?
Well,
Try table 62.
This one's not labeled as
let's see
PDF.
here, where would the water invoice? Because everything is through water sold, or water, sewer
I see,
collected.
I see two rows here. One is 1.777 million, one's 1.892 million.
Let's see here, revenue 1.4. Right there it is, right here.
1.4. How does it relate to this? I got
Is
your
that our
PDF up.
current Revenue?
That's the one you sent me, 1.777 and 1.892.
Well, that's your expended, that's the 1.7 is the expenditures after the non-sales income is subtracted out of there, after the 120,000.
So how would that 1.7 relate to the 1.4 you're saying? I'm trying to
Well,
understand.
1.4 is revenue, 1.7 is expenditure.
Okay, got you, okay.
1.8 minus the 120,
Yes, 1.8 minus the 120,
speculated.
Shuva money coming back.
Cool, super helpful, thank you.
Absolutely, yep. So right now, you're losing about 300,000. You know, if the way you're charging right now with your expenditures and Amy, she's pretty special with her math stuff. She did this before, I think you were working on a rate study before Rachel even called me. And she got pretty darn close by just taking the expenditures and trying to factor in the sewer that's been collected and what it's costing. You came up with, it was like a 25% raise, wasn't quite up where I was, but I factor in a few different other things than what she was looking at. I think you came with like 16, almost 17, dollars. I think mine's a little more accurate. It was great what she did, because it gave you that, hey, we are short here. We're not collecting enough. Which then prompted, I think, the call to Michigan Rural Water to get me in to take a closer look at it.
Super helpful.
One question I had, on any of your figures, was the calculation of the millage that we collect for water and sewer factored in any of it?
The millage,
Yeah, we got 2.5 mills that we,
Amy, I'll let you take that one.
I mean, any of these figures, because we are collecting it right now.
Well, the millage wasn't factored into any of this, but the dollar on water was that 50 cents that he split between the
I saw
two.
that.
yeah, just that.
Right now, we're collecting 2.5 mills.
So the
Water and
2.5 mils does expire, so we.
Yeah, I understand.
So we did not calculate that in. That 2.5 mils also is for big capital improvement projects, like we're using that for West Jefferson Water Main. The amount of money we'd be setting aside for capital improvements here would not even come close to that.
It's yeah.
Yeah,
negligible
it's
there.
mainly for things like pumps and water main breaks, things like that.
I knew what it was for, I was just asking if it was figured in.
Yeah, I was just explaining that the capital improvements in this study, that's what that was for, so.
Helpful.
Any other questions, folks?
I have some broader thoughts, but whenever you're done, I'll jump into them. You're done.
I'm done.
All right, cool. This is incredibly helpful, and I said it when you were just arriving here, when I saw you. Thank you for the time and energy you put into this.
Absolutely.
I know you serve a ton of communities, so you come with a ton of expertise, in addition to your DPW backdrop. I think, and I've talked to Rachel and Amy after our meeting to try and kind of help me start to wrap my head around some of the numbers
Yeah.
on the budgetary side. And so a couple things, and I can follow up with Amy and Rachel offline because I have some like line item questions. But I think what I'm trying to wrap my head around bigger picture is the math and the trajectory and how we best manage that. So just let me make sure I get these headlines correct from you. We had 53K in the green on the waterfront. And that's your math of 863, 532 in revenue minus the 810,000. So right now it's 53K in the green. Is that a fair conclusion? That was the math.
I
you
think
walked
that
us
sounded, yeah, that sounds,
through. Okay.
that's in a perfect world in the
I'm just-
53,000.
I'm just quoting the
Not a
numbers.
whole lot of buffer there, but, yeah, yep, if that's what
The
if
math
that's what the
says.
numbers say there.
Okay. And then, so that's for the water. And then for the sewage, you said we're about 300K in the red.
Yep,
Okay. So net, we're about $250,000 in the red.
yeah.
Okay. Because what I was expressing to Amy and Rachel, and I asked for some like financial follow-ups, I'll just make sure all council has it if you don't already have that, was,
All council has sent it.
okay, cool. Was I'm trying to wrap my head around the bigger picture that I expressed, which is the Shuba look-back money based on the tightening of that system, the sewer lining work, the flow utilization considerations. We brought in, since our last rate increase, which was 2022, was that correct?
Yeah.
Since our last increase, we've brought in $687,000 and change in look-back money we weren't previously receiving, right? Then you have our efforts on the leak detection brought our water loss from over 30% to like now 10%. So I'm trying to triangulate, and we got our system tighter, we got money come back from Brownstown. I'm trying to triangulate the math, and so when I was dissecting it, like this paints the picture of the headline, right? You're 250K in the red on aggregate. I'm trying to then say, okay, well, the money we were bringing in that we didn't previously bring in, coupled with the forward-looking savings, because we're now gonna have that 20% water loss reduction is gonna allow us to not be paying for water we're losing. And then how that ladders into this trajectory consideration, so we can make the most informed decision. That's why I asked what you were saying on the nice-to-haves and the niceties, because you basically, you said there's not a lot of wiggle room. I think it was in the order of about 20 to 30K, if I recall correctly. That's like the
Yes.
wiggle room, the discretionary
Yeah,
investment,
that,
if you will.
that equipment, the equipment funds is really, was the
Yeah.
only thing that,
So that's kind of how I'm trying to math it. I have some offline questions that I'll take with Amy and Rachel on some of the specifics of the budgetary considerations that you sent me, but.
and I think looking at like the water side of things, really, it's not all about, you guys weren't as bad off as you are on the wastewater side,
yeah.
but it's trying to make that fair across the board for for those customers.
Well, agreed, and I think while we dissect it and while accounting wise, we should have differentiation, right?
Yeah,
Our
yep.
residents see one sticker price,
Exactly,
right? So
yep.
we have to be realistic about that. So I'm just trying to triangulate what's the best path for us in the long term in light of what has been money coming back in or forward-looking saving opportunities coupled with what is a analytic that shows, 250K in the red annually.
So if you don't mind, what all of council received was a spreadsheet that Amy kindly put together. Revenues increased, the amended budget increase was 12.52% increase. Meanwhile, the expenditures was a 73% increase in expenditures. If we subtract out the one-time grant that we received, revenue increased only 1.77%, whereas expenditures increased 56%. So that takes into account the Shuva look back as well. I think it's really important to note that even with the Shuva look back, our expenses are increasing.
And I think one of the big expenditures that has been increasing, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but I believe it is actually our Shuva bonds that have been steadily increasing.
Yes, it is.
Well,
And that spreadsheet was sent to all of council last week.
and since we're on the topic of the spreadsheet then, so, column F, row 16, the look back amount quoted in there is 100K, but I believe we got 158K. So I was gonna ask about that discrepancy.
That's because I pulled it from the data from when I didn't have that 158 number yet
Yeah.
at that
So
point.
if I change that number, our revenues increase, oh wait. Yeah, our revenues increase by 12.52. Our expenses stay the same at 73%
But-
increase.
You had 12.52 in the original file.
The other
There
thing
might
to
be something with
note,
that.
though, is that that look back has been steadily decreasing, so we shouldn't expect it to stay at the 158.
Yeah, it's showing a trend of about 25K decrease a year. So it was what, 212 to 187 to 158. Okay, so that's one question I had. Then lead line grants, this is showing let's see. This is basically showing the 300K when the grant itself was for 400, correct? But we just haven't hit all the expenses on it.
Yes.
Okay. The expenditures is where I was curious. So like depreciation expense was tracking at 400 and change and now is 0.
That's all stuff that's figured out by Plant Moran.
Yeah.
It's from Shuva information.
Okay. So it's accurate 0, it went away entirely from a trend of,
It'll be figured out later. I don't have that data at this time.
well, see, this is what I'm saying.
That'll be
So
part of our audit. So if anything, that means our expenses would increase.
But I don't believe that was factored in when he was doing this.
Yes, because we didn't have that number yet.
Okay. Same with the operating expense, like what's the increase from 87 to 223 would be a question.
Meters,
So we spent 140,000 incremental in meters,
yes.
okay?
Again, that's why we changed the action form to keep council better informed about where we're tracking with each line item.
Totally understand. Water escrow mini sewer payments, just would love to better understand the 125K.
That's the bond,
So it tripled year over year?
yes.
Any thought, like what rationale on that?
They went out for a new bond to improve the plant, and each community that is involved with Shuva has a portion to pay back for that bond.
Yep. And most of these bonds that Shiva will go out for, or even that we go out for, they escalate over time. So even if you're looking at one of the bonds and you see it's 100,000, suddenly it may jump to like 150. That's,
Oh, no, that tracks, 'cause we had three years in a row of tracking
Yep.
on 130 and then pop, tripled. Okay, and then can you just talk me through, perhaps everybody through the row 56, the bond premium and the numerics represented there, and again,
That won't be showing up anymore. That was because that bond had been taken out and they were using it at that time. That's also why you suddenly see that triplicate. That's another thing that's figured out by Plant Moran.
so there's a change in the accounting, or I'm just trying to understand, like,
It's something that even we do when we have a bond, you're factoring out the premiums that you're paying before you have to start actually paying on it. My voice just went out.
okay,
But that's another factor that Plant Moran figures out for us through the Shuva information, through their things. Because we own a portion of the plant,
yeah,
that gets factored into our things. And this is another thing that's going to help us when we start splitting out our sewer and water, because then we're going to be able to better understand what's going on there versus what's going on.
okay, and then we have, so it sounds like one is pending the information, so it's not accurately representing the current state, and the second one, I just probably need to dive deeper on, because I don't fully understand that. And then, in the lead line expenses, you have the full cost represented, meaning 400K, yet in the revenues, you're only showing 300K, so why the 100K discrepancy?
Sorry, I'm trying to look where you're
Because right
looking.
now, my goal here is to try and understand year-over-year comparisons, but it seems like
Yeah.
it might not be apple to oranges in some of these cases. Or
yeah, it's
not.
definitely apples to oranges.
Because when you take that's a serious conclusion of 72% increase, but I feel like we either don't have the information in some cases, or it's not an apples to oranges comparison year over year.
That's why I have that second line in there that says minus the one-time grant, so that's eliminated. And with that, it's a 56% increase in expenses. And you can see that, that's column G. off to the right-hand side.
Okay.
One thing I just want to note, Kyle mentioned this, but this is a living, breathing spreadsheet document. The intent for this is to get us to a starting point, and then Kyle's going to work very closely with us on making sure we're at where we need to be, not just over the next year, but over the next few years. So really, the goal for us with council is to figure out a starting point and to then begin to track better. This is going to be very different for us because we have water and sewer separated. We're going to learn a lot over the next year, over the next 2 to 3 years even. So it's really, okay, what's the best starting point to get us to a point where we can cover our expenses but still learn and still be able to adjust?
Yeah, I hope to come back and it be a yearly stop, probably for at least 3 years. And then maybe we can go to an every other year, every third year, unless, Rachel, you say, hey, Kyle, we're looking at a big project, or, you know, we're looking at taking out another loan.
Yeah.
Then I need to come in and take a look at that for
Yeah.
you sooner, but.
Awesome. Kathy, you have any questions?
I know we just have a few minutes for the council, but I'm looking at page 3, and it just shows the number of the meters. So like that 3-inch or the 3/4 inch has 1,458 meters. So we would assume those are all single-family homes. I'm trying to figure out, so that would count as like 1 unit. But when we get down to the 8-inch, we know it might be 2 lines going to the trailer park, but that represents, like, could we have another column that says, okay, that's really 1,200 households, whatever we want to call it, units? I know it can't be people, because we don't know.
So REUs,
Well, you
what
wouldn't.
would you think?
I would, you could help just to try to identify, we can put a note in there, say that those 2 8-inch meters serve X amount of homes, whether it be 300 or 500 homes. Yeah,
For 6432, because I think it's gonna be very relevant when we see what the average water
Yeah,
and sewer
it-
bills are versus what the residents are paying.
if,
And it's just in the spirit of learning more. I don't
Yeah.
care where we're going with it.
and that's just, that's an easy note, Kathy, for me
Yeah.
to put in there. And then Rachel, if, whether it's probably
Yeah.
Chelsea, would that be
Yeah,
a Chelsea
we can
thing?
get that, yeah.
She can see how many, you know, units are in that trailer park, and then maybe
Yeah.
what each of those big meters are for, like if
Yeah.
it's, there's that 6 and 4,
Multi-family home, I don't know if you know that.
40%?
40% of
Oh.
our residential units.
Are multi-unit.
multi-family.
Really?
We have a
Okay.
senior center, we have a mobile
Yeah.
home park. I counted 12 apartment complexes on my way here. So the unit next to me has 80 units.
Okay,
So I'm just kind of curious to see how it shakes out versus what 2 people in my house versus 2 people in an apartment or trailer park pay.
Yeah.
Just if we're looking at numbers, let's look at it.
yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be relevant when we do the surcharge.
And if I can get those numbers, I can put those notes in and,
Perfect.
The people that are doing these billings, like, are they required to only bill for what we're billing them for? Like, are there laws that regulate, you know, or like we give them a $9 service fee, we bill them quarterly, can they bill 9 a month to each person living in the trailer park? Another thing, because that's important.
I believe so. I mean, that trailer park typically, you know, you build the
Private
trailer
system.
park, and then inside that trailer park, they might have their own meters, you know, that they bill. I'm not sure how they bill in
Yeah.
there.
We need to look at this stuff, because I think it's gonna have an impact on the outcome of whatever we decide. And the other thing I'd like to suggest and maybe recommend, I couldn't find Plant Moran's talking at all about water and sewer rates. You know how they said, be careful, cut property taxes and inflation, we're doing this and that. But when they do an audit in June, it'd be very helpful to get the recommendation on, or 1 paragraph on where they think we are. If, you know, just to get another opinion too.
Yeah.
If it would behoove us to increase
Yeah.
our rates.
Oh, please, yeah, get as many opinions as you can.
That's all I got, thank you.
Yeah,
you, Kathy.
they'll be here at the beginning of August.
Yeah.
The beginning of August is when they come in.
Oh, okay, I saw that their audit was dated June last year, so I thought 2 months is all we have to do.
No.
No?
One thing I will know about water and sewer is when it is not calculated into our debt ratio that we're allowed to have as a city. It is separate, correct? I just- which is helpful, but also something to just keep in mind.
Yeah, because they've pushed upon me that it's supposed to be an enterprise account.
Yep.
And I think I saw like, they show me how much we make each year, so I know like if it's okay or not. And they usually talk to me about that. But it's,
But there isn't anything in our audit report. I couldn't find it. I looked.
Yeah,
yeah,
good suggestion.
Or in the notes to the mayor account.
It's a good suggestion.
I don't think. I'm not.
yeah, I don't think there is. They usually talk about it at the little luncheon thingy. Because I always ask about it because I'm paranoid.
Does any other council members have any questions? Comments? Kyle, profusely, thank you for all the work you've done. Amy and Rachel, I know it's been an immense effort on your part too.
Chelsea and John really
Chelsea
did a
and
lot of
John.
heavy lifting too.
To all that made this study possible, it's incredibly informative. I think we have a lot to digest. We'll have some follow-up questions with our.
Still a work in progress,
departments.
right, Garrett?
Absolutely.
And I'm here to help you in any way. And I hope everybody's been included on an email or something, or if you need my contact information, please reach out to Rachel and she can get that to you. And I'm more than happy to take calls, emails, whatever it takes to help you out.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
To close out our planned topic, as public notice, we love to open up the floor to any public comments that you may have. So, public, the floor is yours. All right, with no public comments, we're looking for an adjournment, and there's no motions in this, so this meeting is now adjourned, and we will now open up our regularly scheduled council meeting.
We have like 3 minutes to
Absolutely.
Reset.
To those that are tuning in, we will start at 35 after the hour. Thank you.
check on HVAC real quick.
Cool.